So Causeway is a movie about healing with trauma. What's going on, guys? This is Anthony with themovieblog.com, and I'm back here with another video. This time we're getting into a review for the new Jennifer Lawrence, Bryan Tyree Henry movie, Causeway. Now, Causeway is a movie about trauma and healing. Jennifer Lawrence's Lynsee has suffered a brain injury, and Bryan Tyree Henry's James suffers from the loss of family. Now, the film centers on these two sharing moments and on their performances, and it relies on them flowing through one another, showing us how these two souls can find healing through their trauma. Let's start off with, as usual, the good. Now, Jennifer Lawrence as Lynsee and Bryan Tyree Henry as James is a lot better casting than I expect. Causeway isn't a romance movie, but there are romantic moments that happen in the movie. This is a film centered on trauma. Jennifer and Bryan deliver a unique view of what trauma is for each of their characters. These two deliver some really powerful character studies into both James and Lynsee's unique experiences. James is almost comedically unfiltered and often asks people, including Lynsee, some really direct questions and has a habit of oversharing his thoughts. Lynsee, on the other hand, is more indirect, and she's a little bit more reserved and is concerned about what others think. Causeway makes the storytelling feel rewarding. Now, the filmmakers take their time revealing the layers in the psyche of these characters and their histories, but I really enjoy the message of healing through some trauma. Even if it's not the same trauma, it's healing through their unique trauma. These two characters find a way to support each other unapologetically and without restraint due to their own challenges. They give what they need. There are some beautiful moments that help you get invested in the journey of these characters throughout the entire film. Now, the imagery and the scenery feel like they represent the state of mind of the characters. There are some indoor scenes that feel darker than others, and outdoor scenes that are spectacularly bright. There's a message of acceptance and gratification that's delivered through the act of swimming. You'll see that happen throughout the movie, and it's gonna slap you in the face when you notice it. Both Lynsee and James are able to find ways to hide their trauma from the world. Now, James's story is tragic, and Causeway unveils his story with patience and reverence. There's a moment in Causeway where the dynamic between Lynsee and James shift. The scene is when James shares his traumatic experience and Lynsee sees what's important, and it's important to see how she reacts to his revealing of this. Now, with all this good and all this praise, of course, we have to also touch on the bad. The pacing in Causeway can be really slow. The pacing can be so slow that it can be really tough to feel any investment in the story or the characters. Now, Lynsee initially seems like she's just living a normal life with normal everyday problems. Causeway doesn't make it obvious that she's experiencing any sort of trauma or disability, and it subtly introduced this plot point into the story. But again, it makes it hard to invest when you don't know it's happening. The approach feels like it's trying to artistically reflect the nuance of her disability. It's artistic, but it can be boring, waiting for the plot to reveal itself. There are only a few moments in all of Causeway where Lynsee's disability is actually noticeable. I don't feel any sense of consequence or risk in Lynsee's disability because it's not as noticeable. Another issue I have with Causeway is that there are characters, plot points, and straight up relationships that go nowhere. We see Lynsee's mother early in Causeway, but her story never feels important. Linda Edmond plays Gloria, and I like her performance. The issue is that Gloria and Lynsee don't get any meaningful moments to progress their story. They have issues, but it seems like it's more of a thing that just happens. There's also another plot point that Causeway introduces with Lynsee's brother. This is a point that we hear about fairly early, and Causeway only really scratches the surface of their relationship. But Causeway makes a point to want to highlight how people are suffering in plain sight with all of these issues happening to Lynsee. But it focuses more on James and Lynsee than any of these other plot points that are being told through Lynsee's orbit. There's also the ending. The ending to Causeway does not feel satisfying. The movie just straight up leaves you hanging, and you want to see more by the end. Now, normally wanting to see more is a good thing, but this just feels like things aren't finished. There are aspects of Lynsee's and James's plot that finally start to progress at the end of the movie, but it's not fun feeling like the ending is missing a to be continued sign at the end. There's absolutely more story to tell here, and Causeway chooses to just mic drop the ending. Maybe Causeway deserves a sequel, but it feels like an incomplete story the way it is. Overall, this might be the first Jennifer Lawrence movie I've seen that isn't a major franchise that I think is begging for a sequel. It is fun to get invested in Lynsee and James's relationship, and I wish that I could feel satisfied with their story. I love how Causeway tries to creatively handle the story, but I don't think the ending is satisfying in any way. Overall, I give Causeway a 6.5 out of 10. Let me know what you guys think of this film in the comments if you've actually happened to see it. It's on Apple TV Plus now, and I'd love to see if anybody else feels the same way. Anyway, that's all I have for this one. As usual, if you guys like these reviews, you want to see more, please do me a favor. Please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Otherwise, I'll check you guys later. Peace.